Welcome to the place where we learn about and learn from the leaders in our field who are powering human creativity. I'm Aaron Dworkin, and this is Arts Engines. Thanks again for joining me here on Arts Engines. Today's guest is Barb Chaffer Authier, who serves as Marketing Director of The Ark. Barb, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Aaron. It's great to be here.
Well, so I am especially excited to be able to have you on the show. The Ark, of course, is one of our wonderful creative partners, but also since the Ark is based here in Southeast Michigan, I actually get to be able to enjoy this extraordinary venue of presenting and the impact that you have on our community, which is extraordinary. So I thought where we actually just start is if you could just kind of share for our audience kind of the scope of the programming that takes place at the Ark and kind of the experience that those who attend have.
Absolutely. So the Ark is kind of unique among venues of our size. We're a 400-seat listening room, and we are a nonprofit venue. The music that we present something different. Almost any night of the week you come, you might find a slightly different kind of performance, but we present generally in the genres of folk and roots and acoustic music, singer-songwriters, blues, jazz, a little bit of everything. So really, we sometimes just call it Ark music. because
Absolutely.
um, because we grew up, founded almost 60 years ago as a folk club. We were one of many folk music kind of coffee houses around the country at that time, that focused not just on musical performance, but poetry and political discussions and all kinds of things. And then we grew up as we grew up, we became more focused on music, on acoustic genres, on folk genres. But over time, what that definition of folk is has really morphed a lot. And so it has grown to encompass a lot of different styles of music. But again, our focus is on those acoustic genres. That listening room, singer-songwriters that have a message to tell. And really the experience of coming to the Ark is, we often say it's like walking into the performer's living room, because it really does have that intimate feel. Even though it is a 400-seat room, it feels much smaller often. To be in a performance at the Ark, there's a lot of give and take that happens between the artists and on stage and the audience. That there just really seems to be a communication that happens where the focus is really on the music and on that experience. We're not a bar. There's not going to be a waitress coming and interrupting. There's not chit chat, people standing around and talking while the music's in the background. The focus is really on that listening room experience, that you're there to be part of the art.
And of course, right, it's such an extraordinary place and an extraordinary way in which to connect with musicians. And I was wondering if you could kind of speak to that, because I'm sure that there are those in our audience who may either be in communities where there is no Ark equivalent, and or where they want to either be able to connect with this music, or just thinking about the mechanics of how to run an organization like this. And just where if you could kind of talk about how do you best balance, right, kind of the nonprofit versus for-profit model. And with artists, do you feel like the like your primary, if you will, customers are your audience, or are your customers the artists who you're presenting? Are they a priority? Kind of wondering how the Ark approaches the sensibility of being able to function and be successful with these extraordinary artists.
Yeah, that's a great question. There's so much to unpack there.
Right,
Um,
sorry.
I would say, the ARC really sits in a very interesting space in that we are presenting artists that are touring artists. They have routed tours. They may be performing, the night before in Cleveland, and then they come to the ARC and they're off to Chicago. They're coming through. So we have everyone from small local artists to big name performers that come through our doors. And so the experience can be very different night to night. The size of the audience can vary greatly from night to night. And that is actually one of the beauties of us being a nonprofit organization. We are mission driven. Our mission really is to enrich the human spirit. That's the first part of our mission statement. But how we do that is through the music that we present and the experience that people have listening to that music. So I do see us as, our most important constituent is not just the audience or just the artist. It really is both. And it is really connecting those things. We are not just a presenter and a venue, but we're also a community organization as a nonprofit. So yeah, we wear a lot of hats and have to play a lot of roles. But we make our booking decisions not just based on what is going to sell necessarily. To be quite honest, we might have one night a John Hyatt that comes and sells out the club, and you know what you're going to get there. But then the next night, we might have a young rising band who doesn't even have an agent yet, or doesn't, they don't have an established following here. And we don't book saying you can only come here if you can sell X number of tickets. We say, we're going to book you here because this is music that deserves to be heard and will meet that part of our mission that says we're enriching the human spirit. So
Wow.
we will present an artist who maybe can only draw 20, 50 people into seats. But then our goal is to support those artists along the trajectory of their career and bring them back and build that audience so that, down the road, they might be the artist that's headlining the gig and bringing someone else new along with them. So
Awesome.
that's what's really exciting to me about what we do.
And as you do that, especially as looking at marketing, do you find that your audience, do you build kind of a trust with your audience where they'll come to hear someone they don't know just because they know if the Ark's telling me to come, I should come because I'm gonna like it, even though do you find you're kind of building that and just kind of curious how you approach that specifically in your marketing approach?
Yeah, well, absolutely. That's what we're hoping to do. A lot of our initiatives are very much, we're getting the news out about our calendar and who's coming to a lot of audience who may not have heard of some of these artists. So, again, we have such a range. We sometimes talk about that there isn't an ARC audience, but there are ARC audiences, because it can vary so much. And we are presenting things in such a wide kind of range of genre that it's not always the same target from a marketing perspective, but always there is that underlying sense of we have built a community over the last 60 years, and there are, we have folks that come, we might see the same faces coming to a show at the Ark several times a month. And certainly we have plenty of audience that might just come to see a performer that they love, but we definitely have a rich membership base and an audience that does trust that that's going to be good. If I'm looking for something to do on a Thursday night and, oh, I could go see a show at the Ark and I can trust that that's going to be something that's going to be worth seeing. And of course, not every genre is for every person, but we do definitely market toward a base of people that are just live music lovers, and they want to see music live. They want to be in this kind of community and environment to experience live performance, and so we do feel like people can trust us. We are gonna give you something good.
Absolutely. And it really is, and for the audience to know, truly one of our beloved institutions in our region, and even nationally for some. So it is so wonderful to have you on the show. I am almost out of time, but I always like to ask of all of my guests this amazing work and working with these extraordinary artists and such engaged and committed audiences who truly are members of your institution. There has to be some, tough days just as an arts leader, as an arts administrator. And just curious, do you have any mechanisms or things that you do when, the times are tough or it seems like certain things are overwhelming?
Yeah, well, obviously going through COVID as a arts presenter was a huge challenge. And I think one of the things that was a real light in that experience is that we found connection with other artists or with other communities that were also presenting the kind of music that we present, that were other small nonprofit or just independent venues, not working with a big machine of like Live Nation or something behind them, but just having to figure out how to operate day to day. And we made some amazing connections with other venue owners and other presenters, where we really held each other up and gave each other encouragement. And so that's always a resource that I know I can lean on now when you do have that day like this thing didn't go as planned. It's not, this isn't selling. This is, whatever the issue is, that we have this whole network now that really is thriving because of those connections we made during the pandemic, that we can turn to those folks. We have a much more personal relationship now with them. I feel that it's, you can comfortably go say, hey, how's this going for you? Because I'm really struggling. And you've got colleagues that are going to be there to support you, either to commiserate or to have some new ideas, a fresh perspective. That always helps.
Barb Chaffer Authier, you truly are one of the arts engines who is powering human creativity in our world. Thank you so much for everything that you do for the artists and for audiences, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Aaron. It's good to see you.